Breaking news, Mets making moves. New York is bringing in a future star. Yes, it is official. The only person bringing hope to fans of this franchise has arrived, so stay tuned only here on Mets Digest to hear everything you need to know about Nolan McLean before he makes his MLB debut in just a couple of minutes. I'm your host today, Mike Duda. We're going to talk about McLean, a press conference that he had before his first start, and everything you need to know about the 24-year-old stud prospect. But first, we got to talk about some subscribers, and that being the fact that 69.4% of you that watch these videos aren't one. So please do me a favor, do us a favor here on Mets Digest, and hit that free subscribe button. That way we can bring content to you about the amazing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. Kicking it off with the probables today, it is official. Nolan McLean will be starting the right-hander against righty Bryan Woo and the Seattle Mariners. Mets dropped what, again, seems to be the worst loss of the season and the biggest valley and the lowest point of 2025. So Nolan McLean, he's here. Very, very high pressure situation. Hopefully he can save the 2025 season in his first ever game in professional baseball at the MLB level. A lot of pressure for the young 24-year-old, but if there's anyone that can do it, it is definitely him. You guys have seen this before, the prospect outlook of our number 3 prospect in the Mets system and number 37 overall according to MLB Pipeline. We saw this and discussed him in detail in the video titled Breaking Mets Make Shocking Move. This changes everything Mets news. That was, of course, when it was confirmed that McLean is indeed getting the nod in today's game here on Saturday. 24 years of age, 6'2", 214, double righty, third round selection back in 2023, signed, of course, with the Mets in 23, had not pitched a minor league game until 2024, so about a season and a half into his MILB career, he gets the call up to the bigs, and it's even more impressive because, again, go watch that video if you want more details, but McLean was a two-way player in college and was drafted as a two-way player. He hit for the first half a season in 2024, struggled immensely, and then the Mets said, hey, you're going to focus on pitching. He did so, and obviously worked his way super quickly and flew through the minor league system up to the MLB where he makes his debut today. The ETA is indeed on point, as today, August 16th, will be the debut of Nolan McLean. As for the scouting grades on a scale of 20 to 80, 20 the worst, 80 the best, fastball gets a 55, curve with a 55, slider with a 70. That is super impressive, and there's a reason why he is willing to throw that slider in non-favorable counts. 2-0, 2-1, 3-1 counts, 3-2. He's willing to throw that slider. We'll hear from that in his conference in just a little bit. As for the cutter, it's a 55. Changeup not so great at a 40. 45 control is okay for an overall 55 prospect, which is pretty solid. Mets right now have a lot of top-tier talent, as of course it really shifted around. The top 5 in particular, according to MLB Pipeline, the past couple of days, post-trade deadline, and MLB Pipeline, for whatever reason, just did a really recent update, and now Carson Bench is the number 1 prospect in the Mets system, number 20 in the MLB. Jet Williams goes to 2 in the Mets system, 30 overall. McLean, of course, number 3 in the Mets system, 37 overall, and Jonah Tong, 4th in the system, 44th overall. Brandon Sproat, 5th for the Mets, not ranked in the top 100 according to Pipeline. So our top 4 prospects are not only in the top 100, not only in the top 50, but every single one of them is a top 44 prospect in professional baseball, which is really impressive. Here are McLean's stats. We've seen this before. He has been dominating. He's looked great in AAA as well. Had a phenomenal start to AA. Was a league leader, was a minor league leader in multiple categories upon getting promoted to AAA. So he was phenomenal to start the year in Brooklyn, or rather Binghamton. He was great in Brooklyn last year. Even as a two-way player, he was still pitching well. Calmed that down even more when he finally stopped being a two-way player. Struggled a little bit when he got to AA, but then, of course, turned it around here in 2025 and has looked solid over 16 games in AAA Syracuse. You see the stats on your screen now, as let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the corresponding move. Last night, the Mets designated Paul Blackburn for assignment, according to Anthony Giacomo. It makes sense. There was only a couple of guys you could have DFA'd. I guess the only other player you could have DFA'd to make room for McLean would have been Ryan Stanek, but I think the Mets wanted to get rid of Blackburn more than they did Stanek because they already have a guy that could be a long reliever in Frankie Montas, who's already in the bullpen. In fact, McLean is taking the spot of Montas. So with the Mets having a lot more money owed to Montas, 2 years, 34, compared to just a couple of million for Blackburn. It was an easy decision to DFA Paul Blackburn, and when you look at the stats, it makes a lot of sense. 0-3, 6.85 ERA, and that actually went down because of his last appearance, his 7th game that he's pitched this season. He pitched 5 innings out of relief in a basically cleanup duty against the Braves. That terrible game where the Mets had a 6-0 lead and then blew it. He ended up giving up 2 runs on a 2-run shot, but other than that, pitched pretty well. But again, the stats just do not show in favor of Blackburn. Neither do his career numbers. So those are the moves that you need to know. Blackburn down, McLean up. He is pitching today. So with that, he came into Flushing. He got here to New York City yesterday morning. So let's hear what Nolan McLean had to say ahead of his very, very important MLB debut start. Starting it off with hearing from him about his original reaction to getting the call. Well, he said, AJ Sager told me, our pitching coach in Syracuse, right after my bullpen on Wednesday. He just said it's really cool. We get to see everybody's hard work come from a homegrown guy and pay off. So they pointed at me, tossed me the ball, and said, McLean's throwing on Saturday, of course, alluding to him pitching here for the professional New York Mets. So I was excited. I think it was a surprise. I was trying to do my best to stay in the moment and just be with Syracuse as much as I could. And so it kind of caught me off guard when they did tell me. So it was for sure a surprise. He continues by saying, it's a dream come true. I remember telling my dad when I was really little, seeing some big leaguers play, I'm like, I want to do that. It seems like fun playing baseball for a living. So it's definitely going to be a dream come true. Just a big, big grin on my face. Brandon Sproat, of course, a fellow prospect, number 5 in the Mets system, who's also been tearing it up in AAA. In fact, there were talks about him coming up instead of McLean for this Frankie Montas spot. He said my face turned really, really red, and then I tried not to get emotional. Then I called my mom. She was crying. I got pretty emotional. But it was just a really exciting moment for me. He also called his fiance right after calling his mom, and has a few family members and buddies heading out to the game today at Citi Field. So what's his approach going to be now pitching in the big leagues? He said, I'm just trying to take it one game at a time. Go out and compete as hard as I can tomorrow, that being today, of course, in his start, and take it from there. It's just going out there and competing with what you got. My stuff's not going to change from Syracuse to here, so I got what I have, and I'm going to go out there tomorrow and try my best. Now, he's only been to New York City once, and that was to sign back in 2023. He arrived yesterday, spoke to the media yesterday, and now is fully set on getting ready to go do a job and pitch arguably the most important game of the 2025 season for the New York Mets. So, how is he going to feel? Well, he said, I don't know. I've never been in that situation before, of course, pitching in the MLB, making a debut, so I guess we'll see. I'm excited to compete. That's one of my favorite things to do, whether it's baseball or just anything. I like competition, so I'm excited for that. Obviously, as we've discussed before, it is vital for McLean to pitch well today. It's unfortunate that that is what is happening, but it's better to have McLean, a young guy making his MLB debut in a pressure situation, than Frankie Montas, at least in my opinion. And for once, I actually agree with the front office of the New York Mets. It seems like that is their opinion as well. As you look at the stats on your screen here, it is vital for New York to go win a ball game today. That record is even worse now at 19-34 since June 13th, tied for the third lowest win percentage in the MLB. Look at the starters, the fewest innings in the MLB since the 13th of June. It's basically David Peterson only giving length. We've talked about this time and time again. And very simply, the starters and the pitching staff overall has been trash. A 5.34 ERA since the 13th, 26th in the MLB, meaning only 4 teams are worse than the Mets in that category since the 13th, and a 4.94 reliever ERA. It doesn't get much better with the bullpen, 28th in the bigs. So how will he balance that being McLean? How does he plan to balance making an impression? Because keep in mind, this is his first ever time pitching in the majors. He needs to make a good impression on the coaching staff and on the front office. So how's he going to balance that and subsequently the pressure with keeping it simple? He said, I think the thing for me is just going out there and trusting my stuff. trying to enjoy the moment and just compete with everything I got. At the same time, to pick everybody's brain here and kind of see. You get some experience, some opinions on other things. Now, I said this right after I listened to the full 4.5-minute press conference with McLean. I think already, even though he hasn't pitched in the MLB, he's probably the third best guy when it comes to speaking to the media behind Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor on this Mets team. He was very cool, calm, and collected when speaking to the media. That's kind of who he is as a person from what I've heard and from what I've seen from McLean. He's very laid back. He's not going to go showboat or do anything crazy when he gets a big strikeout. He's simply, very similarly to David Peterson, going to go out there, do his job, walk on the mound, walk off the mound, and speak to the media. Very, very calm, very relaxed player. So what's the deal as a pitcher? What works well in the minor leagues for him, and what should Met fans know going in? He said, I think just the ability to throw strikes with most of my pitches in any count. We talked about this earlier, particularly with the slider. I wasn't scared to flip sliders in there behind in counts. 2-0, 2-1, 3-2, 3-1. Early in counts, first pitch, 1-1, 1-0, 0-1. Whatever it might have been, I just go out there and compete. Try to control what I can and just go out there with whatever stuff I have that day and compete as hard as I can. As we've heard, a very, very bright future for the New York Mets. Not only is it the 37th prospect in the bigs in McLean, it's the 44th in Tong, 20th in Benj, 30th in Williams. Brandon Sproat is probably on the outside looking in of the top 100 according to Pipeline. So how does McLean feel about the future of not only this pitching staff, but the organization? He said, I think there's a lot of talent. Jonah Tong and Brandon Sproat are just a few guys. You can name a whole bunch. Those guys are special as well. I've never seen a fastball like those two, honestly, and I play catch with Brandon every day. It's not the most fun thing in the world. See, he's already got jokes. Those guys are special as well, so it's exciting for the organization. I love it. Love hearing a guy that cares about the fans and cares about the organization, and I just love the fact that he was so calm, cool, and collected before making, again, I can't keep saying it enough, the most important start of the 2025 season. 123 games in, it almost feels like the season is riding on today, and Nolan McLean's performance. Mets, of course, are half a game up on the Cincinnati Reds right now, and at some point, the Milwaukee Brewers, who the Reds are playing, are going to have to lose a baseball game. They've won 13 straight, so it's time for the Mets to step up and win, hopefully behind a dominant performance from McLean. He elaborates a little bit more on Tong, saying, me and Jonah are pretty close. I'd say in spring training, our lockers were right across from each other, so we got pretty tight and got to eat quite a bit together, so I try to mess around with Jonah as much as I can because he's a fun guy to be around. Almost too nice. As for Brandon Sproat, how did he react when McLean got the nod? Because again, there was almost not competition because they're friends, but in terms of the front office, definitely competition. Who is going to be better for this big league club at this moment, McLean or Sproat? And of course, the higher ups went with McLean over Sproat. So what was Brandon's reaction? Well, just a hug and said, congrats, man. Like, you made it, and this is awesome for you. We're pretty close, so I've been texting him all morning and seeing how he's doing. If he's sore from last night, he just started last night for AAA Syracuse, and just kind of picking his brain like he always does, just doing our normal conversations with each other. So that's awesome. Last thing to note about this press conference is he will be wearing number 26, that being McLean. Any importance? Well, he replied, no. It's just what I got. I don't mind. It doesn't look too bad. So, not too picky about that stuff. He already had the media laughing. He's already, I think, New York ready. So, all that matters now, go out there and pitch well. I got all the confidence in the world, and I am super, super hyped in a couple of minutes for Nolan McLean to make his MLB debut. So go down there in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Are you excited for McLean to make his MLB debut today? How do you think he's going to do? Give me all your thoughts and your reasonings down below. Personally, I think he's going to do well, and I think the Mets are going to win a ball game today. Funny enough, they've lost 14 out of their last 17. That was a previous losing stretch that they had. Went on a 7-game win streak, and now have lost 14 of their last 16. So, with a win, it would be losing 14 of their last 17, sandwiched in between a 7-game win streak. So, hopefully the Mets go out and do that and can turn around the season. Again, it's unfortunate for McLean, but it is the biggest start of the 2025 season for him, and of course, the biggest start for the Mets, biggest game for the Mets. Hopefully, they can go take Game 2 of this series against the Mariners, and then go win tomorrow night. But, take it one game at a time. Go enjoy the game. Enjoy watching Nolan McLean pitch. Thank you so much always for watching. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you today. And let's go Mets and Nolan McLean.